COVID-19, more than $20 trillion in economic loss. More than 200 million people will lose their jobs. Consumption is falling, supply chains are collapsing. Billions of dollars are being given to bail out companies. Supposedly people too, but I don't believe in that because it's not happening. Anyway, so I was thinking of making this video in order to analyze how COVID-19 will change our future and what kind of job will AI have in shaping that future. So let's try to understand that. Question number one, what drives our economy? Now I know that most of you are going to say demand and supply. Why? Because there are people in society that want products and services, and there are people in the society that produce those goods and services to meet the demand. So there is demand and supply, and that's why there are sellers and buyers. I know there is one more lot that's called people who are in the financialization of economy, but that's not really doing great things to our economy. Anyway, we will not go into that. So in an economy, there is a market. In the market, there are two sides. One is the consuming side, one is the supplying side. Now, where is the technology in that? Technology is what makes it possible. Technology comes to the rescue of economy, and not only that, it's on the shoulders of technology that our economy stand. Remember industrial revolutions, steam, electricity, computer, and now the fourth one that is happening is called artificial intelligence, AI. So it's because of technology that our production process has been streamlined and our service management has been streamlined, and that's why we are able to provide goods and services to our consuming population because of technology in a very efficient way, making more profits on that transaction. So that's why technology lies at the core of our economy. That is why European Union shifted from single market economy to digital single market economy. So I'm not wrong. In fact, I'm 100% correct when I say that technology is the foundation on which our economy rests. The consumption and the supply, the demand and supply of products and services is happening on the platform that we call technology. If you take that platform away, the consumption will fall, the supply will fall. And that is what has happened during COVID-19 times. Let's try to understand that in a very simple way. Many people, in fact, experts hailing from the field of economics are saying that during COVID-19 lockdown, the manufacturers could not get their raw materials. The people could not consume the usual way because they were not allowed to visit small businesses like restaurants and malls and other small shops or anywhere else. So that's why the overall consumption fell down. And as a result, the supply chain also collapsed because the manufacturers were not able to get their raw materials. As I just told you, also they could not supply the products to the places where there was consumption. Now, before we move ahead, there is a small problem with this narrative. We always believe that that's what we are taught in schools and universities and even those economics textbooks, that first there is demand and economy does everything to make sure that you supply, you cater to that demand. So demand leads to supplying of products and services. But that is totally wrong. I mean, I understand the concept of demand first and then supply when it comes to basic needs. For example, if I feel hungry, I want food, I go out, I buy bread. So there is a demand of bread, then those guys, the bread maker will bake a loaf for me, I buy it. So first there was demand, then there was supply. But that's the very basic aspect of our economic structure. Consumerism doesn't work like that. The economy that we have today is not only rent-seeking economy, it's also consumerism-based economy. If we stopped consumption, then the economy collapses. And I'm not talking about the consumption of basic products like bread, milk, eggs, cheese. I'm talking about consuming everything. The internet, the content on Netflix, you are consuming everything. So whenever you stop that consumption, the economy falls. So if consumption is more important in the whole economic structure, how do we ensure that people keep on consuming stuff? So that's why supply comes first in the whole economic picture. So first you have to create products and services, and then you have to market those products and services to potential consumers. And after that, those consumers will start demanding those products and services. So it's the other way around now. You create things, you make people want to buy them, and then you sell those things to the people. So first we have the supply in place. First we have the supply side, and then we have the demand that follows it. So the whole consumption process is totally different. Now the question is how that process of supply and consumption playing out during these times when we have COVID-19 pandemic, when we have COVID-19 lockdown in place. Because we know that the consumption and the supply, they have to keep on going at a very high rate if we want to ensure that there is economic progress. But it's not happening anymore. And the answer is people are still consuming whatever they can. I know that there are some physical restrictions imposed because of lockdown on the consumption side, because people cannot go out and keep consuming things. On the supply side, because producers are not getting their raw materials, they are not able to provide goods and services to people where there is market. So there are problems because of lockdown on consumption side and on supply side. But the problems are more intense on the supply side because people are still consuming whatever they can. For example, food. Consumption of food has gone up. If you look at the statistics, consumption of content on internet like Netflix, it has gone up. So people are in the consumption mode like ever, but the whole dynamics has been changed because of the lockdown imposed in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as I told you in the very beginning that technology is what supports our economic infrastructure. Technology is what gives impetus to our economic progress. And that's why technology at this point becomes more important. The next thing for us to understand is this: what will AI technology do in future so as to make sure that our economy doesn't come to a halt the way it did this time because of COVID-19 pandemic. Our economy stopped working. This time, our economy stopped working because there were too many human beings employed on the supply side. Exactly. The human factor that was important in running the supply side was too big, and that's why, because of the lockdown, those people could not participate in the economic process, and that's how the supply side collapsed. AI technology will make sure that in future, human factor is replaced by artificial intelligence systems and blockchains so as to not only automate it, but to make the whole process, whole supply side autonomous, that will not require that many human beings. It's already happening, but the scale at which this will happen now will be unprecedented. That's why I predict that those people who are losing their jobs on supply side today will not be able to get back to their jobs once things normalize. I don't think that things will ever get back to normal because it will change everything. But even if those people get back to their jobs once we are back into economic activity, I don't think that they will be able to keep their jobs for a longer period of time, because supply chains will have to completely shift to artificial intelligence systems and blockchains and robots, starting from the very scratch, starting from production of raw materials to delivering products to the houses of people. The whole process has to be made autonomous, not only automated. And that is what will keep our economy running in the future if we do not still change our economic structure. As a side comment, the current economic structure is not very conducive to AI future, so it will definitely have to change. But until then, what I was trying to tell you is this, that every aspect of our economy will be turned into an autonomous process and human beings will be out of it. So it will not only have an impact on jobs or unemployment, as I would like to call it, but also every aspect of human existence that is primarily consumption now will change. Of course, there are issues like how will people get money to buy those things with, because they will be out of their jobs. But that's a different thing. We will talk about that in a different video. But economic process will be more streamlined now. It will be made more efficient now because of less human factor and more AI factor. And not only this, it's not only about the supply side that is catering to the consumption that we are encouraging, have been encouraging. It also applies to the maintenance of infrastructure. So during the lockdown, what came to the limelight is that our infrastructure could not be maintained as far as those segments or sectors are concerned where too much human factor was involved. And that's why in future, it will be AI systems, robots, and blockchains that will make sure that every part of our infrastructure is maintained by them and not human beings, so that that infrastructure can be readily used, or it can keep on working during such events in future like pandemics or any other kind of distress or natural calamities or disasters. So before I go, everything will change. And most of that everything is about economy, is about money, and the way we operate our economy, the way we make our economy function will completely change, and our lives, our human existence depend on that economic structuring. So it implies that our human lives will also go through a change. And that change is going to be what we could never think about, except in science fiction. But that is going to become a reality. In fact, that is already becoming a reality. So the way you get your post, the way your buildings are maintained, the way your water supply is maintained, everything will undergo a drastic change. And I think we should be ready to face that change, not economically, because that's going to be tough, but I think understanding and going through that change mentally will be more tough, as Yuval Harari points out time and again. So just be ready for that. So stay home, stay healthy, eat less, and take care of yourself. See you next time. Bye.